The third and potentially decisive stage of presidential cycling Tour of Turquie would take the riders over just a relatively short ride of 132.5 kilometers to a summit finish, the first of two in this 8-stage race. And a summit finish that would draw the climbers out of the bunch for the first time this week. After two sprint stages, riders would leave the stage 2 destination point Marmaris, race inland on a lumpy stage with two classified climbs along the way. Intermediate sprint for the Treasures of Türkiye classification jersey. And then looping around the Aegean coast before heading inland for the long 18.5 kilometer first challenging climb of the day. And then a long loop around to the final climb of Kiran, which made its first appearance in this event in 2025. I liked it so much, we had to have it back in the race for a second successive year. Final 9 kilometer ramp to the finish line at an average gradient well over 9%, maximum reaching 16% in parts. It's an awesome beast of a final climb. We're going to find out who exactly can contend for overall success in the 65th edition of the 61st edition of this event, which began in 1965.
And here they are.
Total Energy, all eyes on this squad, with the 10th place finisher from last year's Tour de France, Jordan Jegat, among their number. And Michal Pomorski, resplendent in the climbers leaders jersey. Would he still be in that at the end of the day? Also leading the Treasures of Türkiye combination and the Caja Rural squad after sprint success in the first couple of days. Looking forward to seeing what they could achieve on the climbs. Man Bookman as well for the Cofidis squad, also gunning for glory. Taraxi for the Konya squad, also looking to see if he could wear that jersey at the end of the day. The man in the turquoise jersey of overall race leadership after two successful victories, two victories on the first day, 2 days of racing. Tom Krabbe at the head of affairs, and in that front row is the 156 riders from the 23 teams prepared for a battle in stage 3. Out on the coast, beautiful weather conditions for the riders. Pomorski leading 2 classifications, Krabbe leading 2 classifications, and the second place riders in each of those classifications looking after that jersey on their behalf. Team sent on their way with a whistle into the neutralized section as the riders were escorted out of the popular tourist destination of Marmaris. Beautiful fishing village that has expanded and sprawled to become one of the most popular destinations along the, well, Aegean coast, dotted with absolutely sumptuous and gorgeous terrain, gorgeous villages as well. Marmaris, a must visit if you're in this part of the world, out on the western coast of Turkey. Flag in and underway. And immediately plenty of investment for the early break of the day, with 2 tough climbs along the way. Everyone wants to see if they could potentially get into a move that might survive to contest for the stage honours. Would the GC contending teams be prepared to let a group clear of the field? Well, after 2 sprint stages, much of the field covered by just 10 seconds, tiny margins in the general classification, so not a lot of rope expected to be given, but still plenty of riders keen to see what they could achieve. Tom Krabbe, though, well, this was one to be endured for him. After 2 stage victories, he'll look to prove his sprinting prowess once again on from stage 4 onwards, but from the earliest climbs of the day, Krabbe in difficulty. Pomorski as well, despite the fact that he's wearing the climber's jersey, the breakaway hero of the first 2 days, waving bye-bye to that jersey by the time they would come to the end of the day. That's the likelihood. And, well, up and over that first climb of the day, Rudolf Remke from the Mula squad, local continental registered team, clear of Mustafa Tekin and Jonas Rickard also up front. 3 combining for a while, but then on the climb, that climb separating the 3 breakaway riders. Matteo Scalco leading the main peloton behind. And the riders then, having put that climb behind them, work their way around the long loop that would take them through to a conclusion of the day. So the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey has staged through the big peloton in pursuit of just a solo rider into the final 36 kilometers. And Imogen, great effort from Rudolf Remke, showcasing the jersey, the Kazakh rider. Yeah, it's been a tough old reach out for him today.
Yeah, I think he's been in the break for a long time now, and he's starting to cramp up a bit. It's a monumental effort from him, especially on his home roads. He wanted to represent his team and, you know, put his jersey on show for his sponsors who are local to the Mughla region. So it was a great day out for him, successful day for his team too.
Great day as well for Javier Ibanez, who sat at the front of the peloton for much of the afternoon. On behalf of the Caja Rural-Seguros squad, they have got Emil Balderstone, finished 5th on this stage 12 months ago, 4th overall at the end of the week. Fine climber from Spain. We'll look to see what he can achieve. They've got a lineup indeed, that Spanish squad, that are capable of performing on this final finishing climb.
Yeah, and you can see here Rudolf Remke getting pulled back in by the peloton after his huge effort, but Caja Rural and Total Energies pulling on the front of that peloton to close the gap down nicely and pretty quickly. I think he'll be grateful for the reprieve in the peloton. Yeah,
he's happy to be back in. The legs cramping. Huge effort from Rudolf Remke, the 22-year-old Kazakh from the Muğla Büyükşehir Turkish continental levels team. And as he looks around, he sees what is pretty much the entire peloton. Some riders would have been detached, never to be seen again, but for the most part, most of those riders able to rejoin following that climb. But approaching the final climb of the day, well, that's where everyone wants to be as close to the front as they possibly can. The peloton already thinning out on a couple of little grippers on the approach to the final climb, which begins with 9k to go.
Yeah, and the rows getting a lot more narrow than they have been up until this point, so it becomes a real fight for position as they're about 4.5k from the climb. Everybody starts trying to get their GC hopeful in the right place within the peloton, and you can see that the pace has really gone up and riders are getting dropped, and riders who are up here are still suffering.
Yeah, lots of suffering going in. Lots of riders at the front at the moment, just making a huge effort on behalf of teammates. Of course, they'll drop them off at the bottom of the climb, wave bye-bye, and with their best wishes and best hopes for success today, as they arrive at this short little gripper that is, what, just over 1 kilometer long, and will be completed, what, with about just on 11 kilometers of the day remaining. That will take them down then to that final climb of the day, and it's an absolute massive drag race. The Equipo Kern Pharma squad on the left-hand side of the picture, Caja Rural have been on the front for much of the day, and the Total Energy squad, those familiar white jerseys of the French registered team, also trying to put their men on the front. And now on to the final climb of the day, and within 5 kilometers of the finish of the day, it is a show of strength from the Total Energy team. They've got Jordan Jegat among their number. Jeffrey Bouchard has done, well, a really excellent piece of work for that squad today. Nicolas Breuillard also representing for them. And now the attack starting to fire off the front. This looks like a speculative move from Kamiel Bonneu, the Belgian rider, with the Italian team, Tech NIPPO Rali.
Yeah, he's put in a great effort here to just spice things up in that group he was in, and he quickly got a bit of a gap. But it's about 5k to go, but he's seems to be powering up the climb. Hot on his heels though is Ivan Sosa from the Equipo Kern Pharma team, who seems to have set a bit of a spicier pace as well, and you can see how he's pushing through the pedals, really looking strong here.
Yeah, it looks like Ivan Sosa, the Colombian rider, has launched for the Equipo Kern Pharma squad. Long-range effort here, about halfway through this final 9-kilometer climb. And the Colombian star, who Well, he hasn't been too much on the radar in recent years. Former Movistar World Tour professional, but a 28-year-old clearly on good legs today. All eyes really on that team. One Ivan Ruiz, who finished 11th on this equivalent stage 12 months ago. Strong climber himself, Ruiz. Some good results of late, but will it be for Ivan Sosa, or is this sort of a stalking horse effort, you might say, from Ivan Sosa? Bonneu tries to hang on grimly in second place, looking strong. Breuillard as well for the Total Energy team. Looks like he's just in slightly better shape, and somewhat surprisingly than Jordan Jegat, who's maybe just waiting for the stage races later in the summer to really find his top form. But top form being displayed here by Ivan Sosa as he charges along, and well, his shoulders are rocking, but at the moment plenty of power going into those pedals.
Yeah, and he's opened up the gap nicely to 14 seconds with just under 3K to go, so it's looking like he'll be able to hold this to the line if he can keep up the pace he's on. He looks like he's head and shoulders above the rest, and really looking like a powerful, strong contender to take the win here today.
Jegat, it looked as if he was also trying to rejoin that group of riders contesting for second on the hill at the moment. It is all about Ivan Sosa. His face, well, contorted in pain. This is a full-out effort from the Colombian rider, looking to relive old glories. A string of stage race successes, of course, towards the end of the last decade and into the current one. Meanwhile, Kamiel Bonneu as well. There's an eye-catching performance from the Belgian rider, and he's, well, hanging on in there at 15 seconds, but the time gap's suggesting that it's going in the wrong direction for him at the moment. Now, what sort of response have we got from the Astana squad? Multiple riders available for them. Skalko looking good, as indeed is Mullah.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to be a match for Ivan Sosa, who looks to be just really in the zone today and using every inch of road, using all of those hairpins to his advantage, staying clear of any of the melting tarmac because the heat out there is immense today. And I think he's really in his element, the Colombian climber.
Totally in the zone, isn't he? A picture of contorted pain, but also focus and concentration for Ivan Sosa as we get a little look behind at that attack, just coming inside the 5 kilometers to go mark, and just after, well, just coming on about the halfway point of this challenging climb at one of these steeper sections. Nothing that Bonneu could do. Neither in turn could Breuillard manage to stay with him. And falling further back, 2 and a bit to go. Another 3 seconds added to the advantage of the Colombian.
And we just wait to see what kind of reaction there will be from behind, because Kamiel Bonneu seems to have fallen back a bit, but we can see riders here from the second chasing group at the road, led by a rider from Caja Rural, who seems to be thinning out that group and really putting the hurt on the other riders.
Yeah, they had Parra for a while doing quite well. Jose Felix Parra, their Spanish climber, but I wonder if that isn't Sebastian Berwick that's decided now is the time to launch his bid for glory. Inside now 2 kilometers from the line, and still floundering and trying to hang on in there and produce something a little bit special is Alessandro Fancellu from the MBH Bank squad, now taking up the chase and the increasingly forlorn-looking pursuit of our lone leader out front. Breuillard, Bonneu and Fancellu it is in front of these riders, so they are 4th, 3rd and 2nd on the road respectively, if you will. Now we have this push on from Mullah with Jordan Jegat trying to get up with those riders contesting for 2nd. Mullah from the Astana squad. Jordan Jegat has a race victory already this year, and one of those rolling, choppy, challenging French one-day races. With that 10th overall in the Grand Boucle, his home Grand Tour in France last year, as we see that Fancellu has opened up a little bit of daylight on Kamiel Bonneu and Breuillard.
And right behind them, you could just see the Caja Rural rider closing in on them, which might have been Sebastian Berwick. So interesting to see where he's come from. It's kind of seems like he's come from nowhere, but he's really been putting in a huge effort to try and close into this group. Fancellu still riding ahead though, with a bit of a gap on them.
Well, he's come from Brisbane in Australia, but he's come from nowhere on this hill, it has to be said, because we haven't seen him all day. So Sebastian Berwick, that is an interesting arrival towards the front. Fancellu, though, still in second position, but leaking more time. 1,500 meters remaining, and the gap out to 25 seconds. Still 24 seconds. It's going in the right direction for our stage leader, Ivan Sosa.
Yeah, he's looking like he's really on a roll today. I think it's going to be hard to catch him back. His rhythm on the bike, he looks really steady. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys can make any dent in his time gap. His shoulders are rocking, but his legs are really pushing every ounce of power down through the pedals.
The rhythm looks good for Ivan Ramiro Sosa, former Movistar World Tour pro, now in his second season with the Equipo Kern Pharma. Fancellu, well, he's on a tiny gear ratio, but maintaining a high cadence, albeit rocking along, out of the saddle, in the saddle. Anxious look over his shoulder, another few seconds leaked as Jegat now not able to follow Moula Brahan. These riders inside the top 10, but outside you would think any position that might be able to challenge for the stage. Jegat, anxious look over his shoulder. Is there anyone coming up that can assist him in trying to overhaul Moula Brahan and the rest of the riders on this hill? So not too far from the kite. 1,200 meters remaining for Sosa. Doesn't seem like a lot, but his advantage still going up. He'll want to take every possible second that he can get, because there's another summit finish coming up on stage 6. Two big GC appointments. It is indeed Berwick now, just has overhauled Bonneu, has overhauled Breuillard, but now about to come onto the tail of Fancellu. Fancellu is peddling squares here.
Yeah, it's really been a full gas effort from all of these riders, particularly Sosa, and then for Berwick to come out of nowhere and really close that gap in when we thought he'd been a bit of a goner. And now he seems to be closing this gap or attempting to close this gap into Ivan Sosa, who it will be hard to beat him on a day like today, I think.
He's looking good, isn't he? Inside 1,000 meters remaining now for Ivan Ramiro Sosa, looking for a first victory since October 2022. Looking for the data. What's the news for Sebastian Berwick? As the power numbers just what he would hope they would be. Coming detached here, Kamiel Bonneu, his contribution or his push for glory coming a little bit further down the hill, and now starting to feel the pinch a little bit, but still 1,000 meters remaining for him. 200 meters further up the road is the stage leader, and Berwick is now continuing to put Breuillard and the rest under increasing pressure. It's a really impressive effort here from the Australian rider.
Yeah, out of the saddle, and he's giving everything he's got. I don't know if he'll want to look at his data. He just wants to stay in the zone and empty himself to the line, really, and it will just remain to be seen whether 700 meters is enough to take it from Sosa.
Yeah, full focus effort here from Sebastian Berwick in an extended period out of the saddle. Impressive core strength, impressive ability, impressive oxygen capacity as well, displayed by both the riders in the first two positions. Gap coming down for the first time, still a handy 25-second lead with 400 meters remaining. 400 meters doesn't sound like a lot, but these are some of the steepest meters that these riders have faced all day.
Yeah, and I think it's really starting to build that 9 kilometer, over 9% effort is really starting to take its toll on the riders. So I'm sure they'll be willing that 400 meters to go down as quickly as possible. But you can see here Berwick.
Is that really 22 seconds? Because Sebastian Berwick is now well within sight of Ivan Ramiro Sosa, has the considerable carrot. Sosa will get the news that the Caja Rural man is breathing down his neck, and 500 to go for Berwick. Well, we did indicate or did understand that he was a little bit closer to the line, so further out it was for Sosa, longer reach, and he is going to have to try and survive these final, well, it is now 400 meters for him. And Berwick is breathing down his neck. He's coming with a late charge, and that gap, I think, is already less than 22 seconds. Yeah,
even looking at it here from above, you can see that Berwick's speed looks to be higher than Sosa, so it will be really a demanding of Sosa. He'll have to give everything he's got now to bring this to the line.
Well, out of the saddle now for Sebastian Berwick. There's no consulting the dash and trying to get data. There's absolutely nothing that can be done except an all-out sprint for glory. Is there any chance that he could possibly overhaul Ivan Sosa? Sosa, his measured effort, he's been clear of the rest for more than 5 kilometers at this point, and now just the final couple of bends that are going to take him to glory. A first victory in international pro cycling for 4 seasons. Berwick is within sight through the final bend too, but it's Ivan Sosa that's going to come to the line and take the glory. He takes victory on stage 3 of the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey as the clock starts to count down, and it's just a handful of seconds in hand over Sebastian Berwick.
And here coming in third, we've got Nicolas Breuillard from Total Energy, who was the rider from their team after they gave everything on the opening part of this climb. He was the rider who was able to deliver that final podium spot.
Head dipped for Fancellu as well. He's absolutely exhausted. So too is Kamiel Bonneu, and all the riders coming up in 1s and 2s and in at 6s and 7s, you might say. Looks like Nikolai Vinokurov has emerged as the best of the Astana riders. His face tells a story. A long, painful day in the saddle, but a productive one in the Astana squad. Well, 3 riders in succession inside the top 10. Jegat also thereabouts. And all these riders in the results, but also ran compared to Ivan Ramiro Sosa. Well, a well-earned drink and the rehydration required now, with 2 transition stages ahead of the next big appointment for him coming up on stage 6.
Yeah, an amazing result for the Colombian climber. You can see he's really emptied himself, and teammates coming over to congratulate him now. It's a massive result for the Kern Pharma team, and this is the moment that he established that solo break.
Yeah, let's remind ourselves of what was the launch of the winning effort. Ivan Sosa, as he relives old glories, comes back into the winner's circle. Surprising maybe even himself.
Huge result for the team as well, losing their title sponsor this year, so it'll be a massive boost to them that they got the win today on this amazing epic climb.
So Equipo Kern Pharma now taking the stage victory courtesy of Ivan Ramiro Sosa, and into the overall lead as well. 13-second advantage over Sebastian Berwick heading to stage 4. Nicolas Breuillard for Total Energy squad within 21 seconds of the race lead and into overall contention. Français, Bonneu, Vinokurov, Muller-Brahan and the rest also with hopes of glory on stage 6. Sosa with that lead of 13 seconds, and well, what can possibly unfold in the days to come for Sosa? I think probably, well, no doubt delighted with that. I wonder, was it one that he was expecting?
4 años tras la última victoria del Tour de Langkawi. El año pasado la operación de la arteria ilíaca. ¿Cómo te sientes a ganar de nuevo?
Hola, no, creo que muy contento, muy feliz, porque creo que he pasado pues unos periodos muy malos donde no sabía qué pasaba, y bueno, el año pasado pudimos darle como solución a este problema, y este año pues iniciamos bien, pero no terminaban de salir las cosas. Creo que una cosa a otra, y bueno, creo que gracias a Dios hoy se dieron todos esos frutos del trabajo de muchas personas que me han ayudado, mi esposa, mi hijo, todos que me han ayudado, y toda mi familia, y creo que este triunfo es para todos y para el equipo.
¿Habías planificado el ataque a 5 kilómetros por la meta?
No, creo que no lo había planificado, incluso se me estaba haciendo un poco largo porque no recordaba que era tan duro, pero bueno, he visto que todos estaban ahí como, no sé, en un momento que como que estaban ahí dudando, entonces he dicho, pues pruebo, no perdemos nada con intentarlo.
Hay otra etapa de montaña. ¿Te sientes listo para ganar el Giro de Turquía, Vuelta a Turquía?
Sí, no, creo que con la victoria de hoy nos llena de mucha ilusión y de mucha seguridad, y creo que sabemos que hay corredores muy fuertes y intentaremos pues defender la general, y si podemos ganar sería muy fantástico, pero bueno, esperamos a ver que todo vaya bien y lograr esta victoria.
Enhorabuena.
Gracias.
Absolutely thrilled, Ivan Sosa, to take a first win in 3.5 years. Stepping out of the overall leader, the turquoise jersey, is Tom Crabbett, but he will retain his lead in the points classification. Green jersey for him to collect, but into the overall race leadership, and turquoise jersey will be hard to lift from the shoulders of this man after his performance today. Can he repeat again on stage 6? Couple of transition stages in between. Tomorrow's stage, taking the riders over 130 kilometers from Marmaris to Fethiye. Likely to be one for the sprinters, but on stage 3, one for the climbers, and for Ivan Sosa into the overall lead after victory on stage 3 of the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey.
Evet, diğer mayo sahiplerimize de hemen veda fotoğrafı